Greetings, glowing, good morning, family. Here's the dream. Here is to all of us making manifest that which is our heart's calling. Here's to all of us believing in our dreams because we're the only ones who are capable of making them a reality. Here's to getting out of the way and doing the work, showing up for it. We don't have to be confident. We don't have to believe that we can. Though we can. We just have to show up and do the work. So, in accordance with that, last week I set another goal to do the mural this week. And I think I was seeking it in terms of the Shala piece, creating a cover image for the track that Bryce and I wove together in the foundation. And it didn't quite happen like that. I did do a piece. I did a self-portrait. I did a painting. And I really love it. But it's not the Shala cover image. And what happened was really I jumped on an opportunity. Another dragon brother in Storm, came out here quite randomly. Rather had an opportunity, and while he was out there, we decided to go in on a mural, and I asked him to give me a project. Like, as he was doing the mural, we had 24 hours. I asked him to give me a project to do during the time that he was doing this mural before his flight, which is fucking awesome. Shout out to Stefan Lucas. And so I spent the past, the 24-hour chunk doing my mural with, or my, a self-portrait with him, and painting, which I've never done before. So I'm really stoked on it. It looks awesome. But that being said, it's not the cover image for Shala, for sure. So, that being said, I did have a whole week to work on Shala, or work on the cover image. And this week, there were I'd say 2 really fruitful sessions, and then 2 sessions that essentially the same thing happened. So I'd like to just articulate what those are. The 2 sessions that went really well were one in which I just did a form study of this man's body. I did it in drawing on a different page in the mural, and I really loved what came through, and I love the way that it's down to integrate with the space. Freya! Come on, baby. Good girl. Hi, sweet thing. Alright, yeah. Sweetest dog in the world. Okay, so yeah, I I loved doing the form study. I feel there's an enormous amount of improvement that I can make as an artist by doing form studies. So I loved doing the form study and then having something that was true to weave into the piece. And so I would like to ground myself in form study a lot more. So that was awesome. The second part was an abstract study, which really came from just refining the paint that was already there, doing blending, making shapes and maneuverings, and that just turned out really cool, and I loved the way that they actually came together, creating hair, or something like hair for this guy, dude. And that is really a throwback, and the first time that I brought this modality or this style into this painting, and the first time that I've connected with this style digitally since doing my first big digital piece over a year ago. And yeah, ultimately, I'm really excited about connecting with that rhythm in this piece for the first time. That was a big win. And the form studies are fundamental keys. And I also love the idea of just doing form studies always in my journals and sketching all the time, and really cultivating everything that looks good and seeking to bring these sketches to a space to an elevation where they look good. Coloring them, throwing them in. Cool, so that's that. Musically this week, the highlight for me the day after Bryce left, I set up my push outside as the sun was setting and just gave myself the gift of like an outside desert music production jam sesh. And I fucking love that shit, man. I absolutely love it. So beautiful to me. Yeah. Also the experience of, I did these like quite a few times this week. I was exploring a morning practice, not definitively saying this is my morning practice, this is what I will do every day. I'm making an agreement to do this, but really more just exploring the space, which was opening the day with guitar, vocal warm-ups, scales, mapping my voice to my guitar, practicing songs in free flow, probably about 30 minutes to an hour. And I absolutely love this. I feel this is a really foundational, it's like figure drawing. It's a foundational practice for me to awaken my voice, my rhythm, and instill a musicality and develop myself musically every day. And that feels like a great daily practice and a great way to wake and start the day. So yeah, that's totally worth a shout out. Coffee? Would you like some coffee? Yes, more. Yeah, I guess just commenting on the whole week. Why not? there were a few two spaces right now that ring worth mentioning, in which I'd say my big practice right now, the core idea that I'm working with is, how do I carve out my time how do I be a craftsman? Okay. One of the core embodiments right now is becoming a practitioner and craftsman of time, so that I may maximize the amount of time and energy that I'm able to give to this project. So, two poignant moments that marked an evolution for me are, without going into too much detail, somebody wanted to come out here that I just wasn't really right now in the space to host, and it was really hard for me to share that and articulate that, but I did, and I really want to give all the time and space that I possibly can to this, while also loving and valuing life and the world around me, and participating in it deeply and meaningfully. But I just recognized inside of myself that there wasn't I would have been doing it out of a notion of obligation, and that wouldn't be fair to anyone. And ultimately, it wouldn't be fair to creation. And creation I see as God, I see as the creator, I see as the dream. And the dream, the living dream, is what I'm here for. I'm a walker of the living dream, here facilitating its emergence upon our planet. So, and ultimately that's what Azira is. Azira is a living dream. It is a narrative that walks through mythology, through imagination, and into reality. It is a hypersigil, a magical artifact, a voyage, a mystical ship that weaves the dream into being. Freya, baby! Freya! Come on, sweet thing. Good girl. Hi. Can you hang in here with me? Can you hang in here with me? Yeah. Yeah. Cool. That was one. The second. So that was one in which I just felt like, in a previous paradigm, I would have just been what I thought was nice, and said yes, come. And I think that there was something really important about me essentially saying no, and creating this space, like respecting and valuing the creative process and giving that time and space and energy. Cool. The second was, and there's certainly multiple. The second was just a really late night muraling session, which I chose to go have a glorious kitty cat cuddle time with a wonderful lady. That went really late. And I hadn't done the mural, and I heard this conversation, this voice in my head saying, like, essentially trying to negotiate with myself, because I did make the agreement yesterday to spend an hour upon the mural every day. And there's this voice in my head seeking to negotiate the mural, or saying, like, I'm not going to do it today, but I'm going to do 2 hours tomorrow, and I'll make it up to you. And I just cut it off, and I showed up to do the hour, and I did the hour, and I was exhausted, and I was like fucking dead at the end of it, but I showed up. And I find that those are such enormous spaces of evolution, and I'm really grateful for this You Are Responsible training that I'm in the midst of right now, which is essentially a training that's been born from the synthesis of multiple yogic paths that really focuses upon there's a daily journaling and a weekly meeting with our group, and the daily journal focuses upon and reflects upon, am I being true to my word with myself and with others? Focuses upon looking at introspectively reflecting on our relationships and our energy throughout the day. And are we doing the things that we want to be doing? And this is a lens with which to see. There's new teachings presented every week, and questions that are prompted from those teachings with which to reflect upon our reality. And what I love about that is it creates a framework and a daily contact point of, like, am I being true to the things that I want to do? If not, let's correct. So I find it tremendously helpful and supportive in birthing this dream that is just huge. It's just fucking enormous. It feels impossible. And I'm here to make the possible possible, baby. So, furthermore, let's talk about the project. Zyra. So, I got a discount code from Webflow. I just gotta make a new website that has my student email as the login, which is cool. So that's that. And we're still in the same space, though, when it comes to the mural. Part of me wonders if it's important to ground this thing rather than grounding in a collaboration between myself and Bryce musically, to ground it in myself. Ultimately, I don't think it really matters. I think Zyra is born as a collaborative network, and I think it's ultimately just a garden that facilitates life as it arises. So everything that I'm doing can go in here. The mural the self-portrait that I've just painted can go in here. The contact with Bryce that I'm in the midst of can go in here. And that's what this space is about, more than the idea of creating some kind of perfect storm. So yeah, I'll be so let's just say this. I did not accomplish my goal this week to finish the mural, to create a clear and bow-tied space, which serves as the album cover for Shallow. I did not accomplish that goal. And why did I not accomplish it? From one perspective, an opportunity in life came up, and I hopped on it, and I valued life's opportunity as it was arising more than the goal that I had created for this project. But I felt also that I could incorporate what I was doing in life, this painting, into the project. So I wasn't essentially going out of the project, but I was going out of this goal. And I think that's essential. Like when life really comes up with cool opportunities, I'm always in. And I want to do that in a way where I also maintain this relationship and like really give this space that we create here together now powerful with a rhythm of unbroken word. So this week I'm launching the site. And I'm just going to use the mural that I have access to be the site and allow it to shift as it wants to, as it evolves. But I'm going to encode the portrait that I have now in some way. And that's going to be good enough. It's okay if it doesn't look pretty right now. And it's okay if I'm not releasing it yet. That was interesting. I know I'm tuning myself to have a weekly release of visual art and music. And I will. Right now, this week, the goal is to launch the site. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how it works, and that's okay. I know that this site has a very intriguing form of navigation. I don't really understand what that is. I know I'm going to figure it out as I go. I think the core idea is to have spaces that I'm zooming into. And yeah, I'm just going to rock with that. To have spaces that I'm zooming into. Essentially, we're composing. So this is another thing that's really cool. We are composing the fundamental framework of the AI in Aya. That's cool. We are composing the fundamental framework of AI in Aya. Whoa. Cool. One thing to be marinating with is what realities are converging. Dream. So there's J, Dream J, and Dreamwalker. what that means is there's J, which is everywhere that I am. There's Dream J, which is everywhere I want to be within the framework of this reality, like what I want this life to be and how I seek to breathe and body. And then there's the Dream Walker, who lives unbound by this reality. He walks through all realities. He is a master of the music itself, walking between dimensions. And the spaceship is a space for all to converge, ultimately as Dream J, which is the space between this world and the living dream. So that's where Isira takes place. And at this point now I'm just kind of touching it rather than saying this is what I'm going to do. Just in contemplation. Why say just when it just takes power away from the word that I'm about to say? So, in contemplation, the Trinity is the fundamental key for me. And we've always known that the Trinity is where my creativity flourishes the deepest. The Trinity is the space between music, motion, and matrix. When I say matrix, I mean visual art, essentially, as well as the composition of the site, like the physical thing, or the thing. What? Fuck you. I mean, honestly, dude, Shala could be really cool as those abstract line work. Ultimately, though, I feel like everything wants a form. And that's a thing. Yeah, I mean, the coolest art has a form. Anyways, am I digressing right now? Now back to trinities. So there's a riddle we're solving, which is what is the epitomized form of creation? What is the optimized ritual of creation that shares the most, that yields the deepest alchemical gold? And within that, how do we harness the energy that is conjured, summoned, and channel it into a clear intention, which allows a dream to be born through this energy? And that's essentially how we utilize the creative body to make magic as giving birth to reality through intention, which one trinity is the creative body, one trinity is the it's like, here is the energy, now this is where we go, this is the intention, and the intention is designed in another trinity. So when you think of them together, there's one trinity that's let's see, how do we do this? So this trinity is music, motion, embodying, like body, matrix. And through this, we're connecting with the gods, we're connecting with the high self, the high form. We're connecting with the gods and we're bringing it down to earth. And this matrix is dream, reality. So mythology, reality, dream walking, which is living the life of our design. And when we merge them, it creates the Merkaba. And in some way, there's also like a deep relation to we'll get into that later. So that's ultimately what this site is a Merkaba. It is a spaceship. It is a means of manifesting dream into reality, a hypersigil that is composed of a weekly conjuring, a rhythmic conjuring of spell. And ultimately, it's like that weekly conjuring of spell allows intention and focus to be driven to one space, which is new. It's like, how do we've been connecting with the God body for a long time, but it's really easy to connect with that space and for it to, there's a magic inherent within it. And that's, I live in a world that's just flooded in majesty, undoubtedly. So that's how it's been working. And there is a ship embedded within it that I have yet to actualize. To the degree that I know I can. Or let's say it like this. There's an octave of much higher power that I know that I can actualize and stabilize within to normalize within this reality. And that is the operation of a ship, which is another octave of consciousness entirely, where all of this energy is directly being channeled into one space. And so I've done this before with Azira, done this before with Elevating Gray. Azira is the first website, Elevating Gray is an album. And each of those hold the fundamental keys for what I'm doing now. The difference in what I'm doing now is Azira is both of them synergized and something new. The something new is the tangible dream overlay, which is a bridging between this world, the world I would like to be, and the mythology. Done so in a high production experience, an odyssey composed weekly, which ideally may yield higher value of potency, can yield a higher value of potency and production. The other element here is how I am focusing my creative efforts. Azira was I could do anything as the creative effort, and now I am focusing upon visual art and music as the core creative effort. And that's not to say that there isn't other things that can be involved. Certainly are. But in terms of core, in terms of practice, in terms of developing the craftsmanship of mastery, there's a far clearer focus here in this site than there was in Azira. And that focus looks a lot more like Elevating Gray. Which held the focus all for the production of an album. Perhaps that's a really good way of looking at what I'm tapping into now, as I'm creating the space for an album. And or an EP, and creating an experience to coincide it. Really simply. Within the album, there are these elements that are being fused and synthesized, which are the elements of the life that I'm choosing to embody and walk into, which feels so absurd to me. It's like when somebody told me that it shared with me that this life truly is a dream and we can do anything that we want to do. And so when I look inside myself and I ask, what am I? What do I want to be? How do I breathe and body at the highest level of my actualization? I see myself, and this is so hard for me to say sometimes, but I see myself on stage. I see myself combusting upon stage as a absolute master of music. And I know I have access to connect with the very profound sound. And I've touched it enough to know that it's there, but I'm so much at the beginning of my journey, and it feels like it's such an absurd thing to ask from reality, because I feel so far behind musically to my peers. Like, there's a generation of people my age who have already fucking hit that and are fully in the swing of touring, and I feel like I'm so far away from myself musically. Like, being able to actually tour, producing something with that kind of output. And at the same time, I recognize that, like, I've got something nobody else does, as we all do, but I know mine comes out musically, and I want to realize that in full in this life. I don't want to wait to the next life to be born as a musician. I want to be born as a musician now. So, yeah, man, this set is all about music and art and the space of facilitation, the space of creation. I do want to be a world touring musician, but that's not necessarily like my first. It's also not necessarily the route that I want to take, is like the whole record label and like traditional musician route. I want to take the route of a musical journalist, where I'm being sponsored to go to different places in the world, witness different things, saturate, steep in the sound of it, and translate it through an audio-visual form that produces a story. And I want to create this unfolding musical odyssey that is also a platform for other artists to really thrive and for their work to be celebrated and brought to life, as I do so with my own artistry and actualize myself in my own artistry. So yeah, it's an audio musical journalist, and that's what I'm walking into. So I feel like Zyra is really also a space to hold that dream, and it's about like embodying the presence and the perception of he who already is this journalist, he who is sponsored, like Zyra's Odyssey. Aya's Odyssey begins from the perspective of creatura, the production, casts us into the space to compose a scene. We are already fully sponsored to do this as a digital nomadic production. As Ira begins as from the lens of the digital nomad, from the lens of the dreamwalker, and Hera comes to Dune to establish this beacon. The beacon rises. God Code embodies. Yeah. And that written scene is the very scene of the dream come true that Stefan is asking me to make a writing to. So I do. So I do. Yeah. All right. So this week, the goal, the agreement, the goal, launch the site. The agreement, let's give Webflow an hour a day. And challenge is for you to practice every day the acoustic space and the mural. Like, touch the mural every day and embody yourself as a musician every day. Yeah. And once we're up and running, we're going to give this focus to our body and bring this ship online. Because it's on crack, dude. It's fucked. I'm hurting. Got my shoulder. I got an issue in my shoulder and my forearms and my wrists. And it's really been sad. So also this whole mission is about dream walking, is about healing my body and actualizing myself as a performer, an embodied performer, and embodying my physicality, embodying the magic that is embedded in me, the healing frequency, the codes that are mine to access through my own channel. And movement is a fundamental form, is like the pillar of that motion. So cheers to you. So the story we're going to write from Hera's point of view, using His Majesty as Stefan's art as the template. And it could be a really great fundamental tone of his aura. Like the layout. I mean, that is the core of the AI, so. Great. Any questions? No? All good? Thank you for sitting here with me again this week.